Let me take you back to a night that felt almost too unreal to belong to regular football news. Cleveland was quiet, its skyline glowing faintly against a heavy Midwestern sky. But inside the Browns' headquarters, the walls were about to shake. What started as an ordinary Monday evening morphed into an event that would ripple across the entire NFL. Phones buzzed, late-night lights flickered on, and somewhere deep in those hallways, powerful voices were about to clash over the very soul of this franchise. By sunrise, the Browns weren't just a different team, they were a different story altogether. I have to be honest with you. What unfolded in Cleveland wasn't just a routine quarterback adjustment, it was a seismic shift that sent tremors through the league. Picture Jimmy Haslam, the owner himself, marching unannounced into team headquarters. No scheduled meeting, no polite knock at the door, just pure authority crashing through the hallways. Executives scrambled to follow him, their faces drained of color, as if they'd glimpsed the future and didn't like what they saw. Assistants whispered to each other in hurried tones, and cell phones lit up across the building like emergency flares. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach who once held complete control of this offense, was summoned upstairs to the owner's suite. 90 long minutes ticked by with those doors shut, and inside, the tension was so thick you could almost taste it. Voices rose, hands slammed on tables, philosophies clashed. And when the doors finally opened, the Browns that stepped back into the hallway were not the same franchise that had walked in earlier that evening. Haslam didn't just recommend a change. He yanked the steering wheel out of Stefanski's hands and declared, without hesitation, that Shedeur Sanders would be the starting quarterback. Not next week. Not when the timing felt convenient. Right now. Effective immediately. Against the Green Bay Packers. This wasn't a knee-jerk reaction to that ugly loss in Baltimore. It was the breaking point after weeks of simmering frustration. For too long, Dillon Gabriel, the lowest-rated passer in the league, had been sent out to lead the offense, even as Shedeur Sanders lit up practice sessions with his poise, command, and quiet fire. Behind the scenes, veterans had already begun taking Sanders aside, telling him, "This is your team. We believe in you." The shift was palpable. Offensive coordinators whispered about his reads. Defensive captains nodded knowingly when his name came up. The building itself seemed to hum with expectation. So when the official word came down, it was less a surprise and more a thunderclap confirming what everyone already felt in their bones. The reaction in the locker room was instant and electric. Defensive players, guys who had been carrying the weight week after week, erupted in their group chats, celebrating like it was a playoff victory. Receivers, desperate for a quarterback who could unlock their routes and bring the playbook to life, didn't even wait for the next scheduled practice. They organized a private workout with Sanders before the sun came up. In that moment, hope wasn't just a word, it was something you could feel crackling in the air. And through all of this chaos, Shedeur Sanders remained unshaken. He didn't sulk when he was benched. He didn't fire off passive-aggressive social media posts. He didn't call out the coaching staff or make it about himself. He prepared. He studied. He carried himself like a pro, quietly confident that his time would come. That's why, when the nod finally came, it didn't feel like just another personnel adjustment. It felt like a restoration of accountability and belief inside the Browns organization. Dillon Gabriel deserves credit, too. He didn't lash out or pout. He walked back into that quarterback room and supported Sanders, proving his professionalism and earning the respect of everyone who watched him handle the moment with grace. That kind of dignity matters in a league where egos can fracture locker rooms overnight. The players noticed, and respect like that can't be faked. But if you think this was just a Cleveland story, you're underestimating its impact. Across the league, analysts, former coaches, and front office executives were stunned. Haslam's decision wasn't seen as reckless meddling. It was viewed as bold, decisive leadership. Some are even whispering that this could be a new blueprint for resolving quarterback controversies, ownership stepping in not to micromanage, but to draw a line in the sand and say, enough. Meanwhile, the city of Cleveland has exploded with energy. Hashtags shot to the top of trending charts nationwide. The team's online store crashed under the weight of Sanders jersey sales. Fans camped outside the facility overnight, waving homemade signs in the chilly air. Downtown bars overflowed with orange and brown jerseys like it was the AFC Championship, even though it was only Monday night. One wedding planner even admitted that couples are rearranging their ceremonies just to avoid clashing with Sanders' debut. Local businesses are scrambling to keep up. Screen printing shops are pulling all-nighters to churn out unofficial Sanders shirts, even while risking cease and desist letters from the team. schools declared Sanders Day to celebrate the moment. The mayor officially proclaimed Brown's Renaissance Day. And across the city, companies are drowning in vacation requests for the Packers game, with HR departments scrambling to keep their schedules afloat. That's the level of hysteria one rookie quarterback has unleashed. On the field, the shockwaves are just as powerful. The Browns' offense is about to bend itself entirely around Shedeur Sanders. Play calling is being restructured, coordinators are being empowered, and a franchise that once seemed stuck in neutral is suddenly roaring back to life. This isn't just a storyline, it's the kind of turning point that defines franchises, ignites cities, and reshapes the league itself. And trust me, if you're not watching Cleveland right now, you're about to miss one of the wildest quarterback turnarounds the NFL has seen in years. Buckle up, because this ride is only getting started. When the alert hit my phone, it was like the air in the room changed. You could almost hear the collective gasp rippling through the league. Green Bay's defense, one of the most disciplined units in football, wasn't just making a few tweaks. Reports said they completely tore up their midweek game plan. That's the kind of move that screams panic wrapped in professionalism. Over in Baltimore and Pittsburgh, rival coaches weren't even hiding it. The Ravens and Steelers publicly admitted this news rewrites their whole approach. Think about that. Two of the most prepared franchises in the AFC North suddenly recalculating everything. And just like that, a Cleveland Browns team that had been humiliated days ago was being spoken of with a new kind of respect. The shift in tone wasn't subtle, it was seismic. And at the center of that storm stood one name, Shedeur Sanders. But this moment isn't simply about a quarterback change. No, it runs far deeper. This is about a curse that has haunted Cleveland for decades, about a fan base that has lived through heartbreak after heartbreak, quarterback after quarterback. We've watched promising names arrive with headlines blazing only to fade under the bright lights. We've endured false starts, bad trades, injuries, and seasons that crushed hope before autumn even ended. For so long, this franchise has been searching for the guy, and now you can feel the city shifting its weight, uniting behind Shedeur Sanders as if he's the chosen one destined to break that cycle. The belief isn't cautious, it's fierce. You can see it in the veterans who've taken him under their wing. You can sense it in the coaching staff, staying up deep into the night, rewriting the playbook to showcase his skills. And even Deion Sanders, primetime himself, stepped forward. His voice carried equal parts fatherly pride and hard truth as he reminded Shedeur and the entire NFL that opportunity doesn't just hand you glory, it hands you responsibility. This doesn't feel like a routine quarterback swap. It feels like a franchise rebooting its entire identity in real time. Shedeur's arm strength isn't just good, it's electric. His mobility isn't just a skill, it's a weapon. His improvisation turns broken plays into highlight reels. Plays that were impossible under the old scheme suddenly look like second nature. Deep vertical shots that used to be off-limits? They're in play now. Complex play-action sequences that once stalled out? They're alive again. Bootlegs and rollouts designed to stretch defenses thin are back on the table. It's as if the Browns have been handed a brand new offense overnight, a whole new playbook, a whole new offense, and maybe a whole new hope. This season has already been a roller coaster of whiplash emotions. We've soared high enough to believe the sky wasn't even the limit, and we've crashed hard enough to question whether this team could ever figure it out. But this twist, this moment, feels like a fork in the road that could define the Browns' future for years. And in Cleveland, everything always circles back to one thing, the quarterback. Think back to Sunday against the Ravens. That loss hurt, 41-17. It wasn't just a number on the scoreboard, it was a wound to the city's pride. And it wasn't merely that we lost, it was how we lost. The offense looked frozen, as if stuck in quicksand. Joe Flacco, the veteran we brought in to steady the ship, looked like a man searching for answers that weren't there. He threw the ball 45 times, connected on just 25, managed 199 yards, a lone touchdown, and an interception. For someone with his resume, it wasn't enough, it wasn't close to enough. Then came the moment nobody in the stadium expected. With the game all but decided, Kevin Stefanski made a move that changed the atmosphere. He turned to Dillon Gabriel, the rookie third-rounder from Oregon who had been a quiet presence on the sideline all season. And in just a few snaps, he flipped the narrative on its head. 3 passes, 3 completions, 20 yards, and then one gorgeous, perfect touchdown strike. His very first in the NFL. Don't call a garbage time throw. That play was a spark that lit up the entire stadium. You could feel the dog pound jolt awake, the buzz surging through every seat. Dillon Gabriel stood in the pocket like he belonged, and with one confident throw, he sent a message to an entire city. I'm here. I'm ready. I've got next. For a fan base that's been burned more times than they can count, that single moment felt different. It wasn't just a fluke, it was a glimpse of something bigger. Stefanski played it safe in the post-game, telling reporters Joe Flacco was still the starter. And sure, I understand. You don't just hand the keys to the franchise over after 3 throws. But the door isn't shut anymore. It's cracked, and the light spilling through it is impossible to ignore. That's why this matters, because Dillon Gabriel isn't just another name on a depth chart. This kid's resume is the stuff of college football legend. He lit up UCF before transferring to Oregon, where he passed for nearly 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, leading the Ducks to a 13-1 season and finishing 3rd in the Heisman voting. Calm under pressure, precise when it counts, fearless when the lights are brightest. Those aren't lucky breaks. That's what winners are made of. And here in Cleveland, we've been desperate for that for as long as I can remember. We've cycled through Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, veterans like Flacco, and countless others, hoping to find stability, but the search has always come up short. Yet when Dillon Gabriel launched that first NFL touchdown, it felt like the search might, just might, be closing in on an answer. The Browns are built for a young quarterback to succeed. The defense, led by Myles Garrett, is vicious, one of the nastiest in the league. Amari Cooper is a top-tier receiver who can stretch any defense. Nick Chubb, when healthy, can tilt an entire game on a single drive. And the offensive line is strong enough to give a young passer a fighting chance. The pieces are all here. The missing puzzle piece is the guy under center. So maybe Dillon Gabriel doesn't start next week. Maybe Joe Flacco keeps his hands on the wheel a little longer. But every rep Dillon takes in practice, every laser he throws, every small sign that he can handle the pressure, it all cranks up the temperature. It turns up the heat on Stefanski. It puts pressure on the front office. It makes Flacco feel the weight of the future breathing down his neck. That's how quarterback controversies start. One spark, then a flame, and before you know it, the dog pound is chanting for the kid loud enough to shake the walls. And let's not forget, the AFC North isn't a playground. The Ravens look like juggernauts. The Bengals aren't backing down. The Steelers? They'll fight for every blade of grass. If the Browns want to rise above that chaos, they have to get the quarterback position absolutely right. Cleveland is a city defined by grit, by resilience, by a relentless fight against the odds. We've been searching for a quarterback who can carry that fight to the biggest stage. I can't sit here tonight and tell you Dillon Gabriel is the one. But I can tell you this, his story is just beginning. That first touchdown wasn't just a number in the box score, it was a signal, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, the future is closer than we think. So Browns fans, I want to know, what did you see? Was Sunday just a fleeting moment of excitement, or did we witness the first step of a new era in Cleveland football? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. Whatever happens next, I'll be here with you, breaking down every high and every heartbreak. The Ravens might have landed a heavy blow, but the spark that ignited in those final minutes, that's the story we'll be telling for years to come. Go Browns!